Okay, so welcome. I hope everyone can see me on the screen and listen to me. If not, you can have the chat option and please text me if there are any problems. We are waiting now a short or a moment for our third host, and we'll start in a few seconds. Okay. Now all of our speakers are on board, and now I wanted to start and present myself and today the webinar. So welcome together to you all to our webinar, Child-Friendly Neighborhood and Sustainable Mobility. I hope the quality of the webinar is fine for you all. Today we're going to have 3 presentations on the topic child-friendly neighborhoods and sustainable mobility. And this project is based on the or funded by the EU project Metamorphosis. Where we will listen to 3 best practice examples from Munich, Zurich and the city of Graz. And I am your host, I am Elisabeth. I am also a co-worker of the city of Munich, and I will lead you through the webinar today. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them during the webinar, especially after each presentation. So the context I mentioned earlier before, the EU project Metamorphosis is the reason why those 3 projects have happened in the 3 cities. And the aim of the project is generally transforming neighborhoods with a focus on children. Because the premise is that many children in public space are a major indicator for a well-designed and sustainable neighborhood. So it's an indicator for livable city. And therefore we will present those 3 projects in these 3 cities, where you will listen to Merle from the city of Munich, Anna from the city of Graz, and Barbara from the city of Zurich in Switzerland. Next to those 3 cities, we also have some other cities as well who are participating in this project. This is Tilburg, Alba Iulia, Meran, Southampton, and the 3 mentioned cities before. And the today agenda is that afterwards we will listen to those 3 examples in Munich, Zurich and Graz, and there you have the possibility to ask questions based on the projects, and also to maybe replicate them in another city as well. And after our the whole presentations, you also have the possibility to ask general questions, or if you forgot something or have questions on detail, as mentioned, please don't hesitate to ask. Therefore, you have the possibility to ask questions via the chat button. As you should have seen below, on the screen where you can chat with me, and I will give the questions to the other presentation hosts. So if there are any other questions or technical problems, please just text in or you message. Okay, so if there are no other problems or specific items before, we will start now with the first presentation, with the first best practice example in Munich, with the topic gamification as a strategy to promote active mobility, which happened in Munich before. And Merle will guide you through the slides, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. Okay, one moment. Mhm. Okay, I think people can see, right? Okay. Hello from my side, from the city of Munich. I will present you our approach on how to promote active mobility with the help of gamification. I'd like to start first with the initial situation, which was the case in the 70s, when more than 90% of children came to school on their own by walking or cycling, called active mobility. Whereas today, there are more than 60% of elementary school children are being dropped at school by car, for example, causing dangerous traffic situation in front of schools during peak hours. And all this situation affects, and more children they are obese or have difficulties in concentrating in school. And we also note that the failure rates in bicycle safety tests, which are done during the 4th grade, raise since years, which is an issue we try to tackle. And of course, we have some aims and some goals we try to achieve with this game, which is to improve safety, of course, in front of schools by reducing car traffic, to encourage children and their parents, of course, to come to school by using active mobility modes, by creating a feeling of belonging by initiating new friendships, and to support identification with their own neighborhood by discovering new playgrounds or spot fix, for example, in the area, and also to support cross-generational activities and culture of active mobility in the neighborhood. And our strategy was then to invent a modern game to promote active mobility in the daily life of families. Here on the pictures, you can see the opening party, which took place in September 2019, and during our second implementation of the game, last summer. Now I will explain to you how the game works. You can see those small little boxes on the right-hand side. They are installed in the neighborhood, more or less 45 boxes, depending on the size of the neighborhood. And participants are supposed to collect points by finding those boxes and attach those little cards, which you can see on the right-hand side, onto those boxes, and you gain 1 point per 100 meters. So the boxes are connected to a GPS system, and the distances are tracked. And the boxes themselves, they also communicate with the participants by showing a text, for example, and showing also the scored points and the specific level participants are in right now. There are 10 levels plus 3 bonus levels, which you can see here. For example, they have funny names like Querfeldeinsteiger, which means starting right at the point, for example. And there's also a flyer which comes with this game, and the flyer shows where all the boxes are located. And we tried that children wouldn't need a smartphone to participate in this game, and rather that they have a flyer in their hand and not always the smartphone. The game lasts for more or less 7 weeks, depending on the time of the year. And participants can create teams or collect points on their own. And there's also a website which comes along with this game, which shows the best teams and schools, which you can see on the right-hand side here. And the results of this game were pretty amazing, actually. During the first implementation, which took place from May until July 2019, there were more than 72,000 kilometers collected, which is almost twice the circumference of the Earth. There were more than 1,900 active participants taking part, aging from less than 1 year up until 82 years, and there were 206 teams taking part in this game. The second implementation had similar results, and this year in 2020 we will implement the game Kreuz und Quer in 3 different neighborhoods here in Munich. The first one is taking place right now in the neighborhood of Domarktpark and Parkstadt Schwabing, and lasts until the end of March. We also had some feedback because we took some surveys amongst teachers and parents. And an elementary school teacher reported, for example, that new friendships were made in the class, and that many children meet in the afternoon and collect points together now. Or, for example, a mother of 2 children of the age of 7 and 10 reported that the attitude has changed and that the kids could play more outside now on their own. Another teacher reported that some children who were often dropped at school by car now walk or cycle to school because of the game. We also noticed that some families went for bike rides at the weekends to collect points together, and therefore also the more cross-generational activities were documented, also amongst grandparents, for example, who were motivated the children themselves if there were several motivating factors, for example. We also had some difficulties, of course, which we still tackle right now. For example, technical issues concerning the website, the boxes themselves, and also the mailing providers, which keep us busy these days. Also, there were some stakeholder issues. For example, during the second implementation, schools were not quite ready because it was more or less very short after the summer break, and they were involved too late, which was quite sad for the beginning. And we also had cheating participants, for example, some very some parents collected points by using the car during the night, for example. So there were some issues we had to tackle. Of course, the lessons learned were that to integrate schools and local stakeholders very early is very important to get the game going, and make sure data safety is done very well, because you deal with children data, right? So you have to make sure that that there are no leaks or whatever. And of course, always keep developing the game, concept-wise, technical-wise, software-wise. So I think that is a game which will keep improving and will keep developing from time to time. Thank you very much for your attention. The game is on right now until the end of March, as I said, which you can check out on the website kreuzundquer.de.
If you have further questions, you can contact us according to those email addresses. Yes. If you have questions, just ask. Are there already?
Okay, thank you very much, Merle. So I hope everyone is as happy with the project as I am. And I also am participating right now in Munich. And so now is the time, if you want to ask questions to Merle and her project Kreuz and Quer. I ask you to do this via the chat function, and there you can text me and Merle will answer your questions right now or also afterwards after the whole presentations. But now is your time to refer to the project Kreuz and Quer in Munich. So there are now a question from my side as well. So because I'm now started the project or following the project in Munich, and are there any first results from day one you receive for the project, or is it just afterwards that the neighborhood the people are talking about the project? What is the first action and feelings you have by doing this project, Kreuz and Quer, in your neighborhood?
You mean right now, this very implementation? Well, I mean, you can already see some results, and I think that the teams in this implementation compared to the implementations beforehand, they're pretty large actually, and there are many more school classes which take part, and the classes themselves, they created teams with more than 40 participants, for example. I think that's very surprising because beforehand the teams were smaller. They were like 3 people per team, maybe 15, but as far as I remember, never really more than 25. So that's surprising, yeah. But I think it shows that there's some connection already going on in the neighborhood, and that people already know themselves pretty well, I think, because they are supporting each other already in one team.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We have received another question from Michael from Norway. I just give you the question, Merle. Did you notice an increase of bicycle use or trips during the project period?
That's a very interesting question. We try to understand ourselves. This very morning we did an accounting action in front of an elementary school, trying to find out this very whether there is something going on. During the first implementations, we did not do accounting. We did some surveys amongst teachers and parents, and the results were depending on the classes. I think some teachers reported that there was an increase. Many teachers reported no difference at all, really. But whenever you go in those neighborhoods where this game is taking place, you can see many children running around or cycling around with those cards, which you can see on the right hand side here, the Kreuz and Quer and playing cards. And there's of course there's a huge difference, actually. I'd say also what parents told us. You can see that many children during their daily life start collecting points, they call it. They do not say I go playing it, they say I go collecting points. So yeah, there's a difference, I have to say.
Okay, thank you. So are there any other questions of the participants here in this webinar? Please go forward and ask whatever you want to know. And as I mentioned before, okay, so we have another question from Melanie. I will read the question again to you all again. Was it hard to get the schools on board? Was there any resistance from parents in advance with the argument it would be too dangerous? That is something that we experience in Graz a lot. So Mel, please.
The schools it differed. Some schools were very eager to take part in this game. Other schools did not want to take the flyer and the cards themselves, because we always try to send them out to schools beforehand. Parent-wise, not very much. There is not very much like anxiety, for example. I think it's okay. But we also make sure that we place the boxes not very narrow to the streets, but rather try to find safe places. That if you can imagine, once there's a box, you can tell that in some cases there might be 10 children in front of this very box. So you have to make sure to find safe places to place this box, for example, on a Platz, like on a place of on a public space. Yeah, I mean, not try to find places that are not very close to the street, but rather safe places. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, interesting. I think it's always not easy to have this topic with children in school and safety. Okay, so now we have information that I will send the questions to all of you. I will do that as well. And okay, so if there are any further questions, I will just thank you very much, Nelle, again.
You're welcome.
And now we will continue with the second presentation. And therefore we have another example from the from the city of Zurich, which have the topic School Project Week on Mobility and Public Space. And therefore I will ask Barbara to tell us about her project in Zurich. So, Barbara.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Hello to everyone. Here's Barbara from Zurich. I think you can't see me because I can't start the video, but as long as you can hear me, that's fine.
Yeah, so screen, that's fine.
Okay, so I'm the project leader of Metamorphosis in Zurich. I will present you one of the measures we implemented in our city. It's a school project week on sustainable mobility and public space. We think that in our opinion, schools are suitable targets because you can reach children with different backgrounds, and also hopefully the kids will pass on their ideas to their parents. So we worked a lot with schools in Metamorphosis. So in the following, I will present to you some background information on the school project week in general, and then I'll present you 2 modules that we did in these project weeks. So the program Mobilität erleben, Experience Mobility, is an offer from the city of Zurich that is free of charge for all primary and secondary schools in the city. It deals with the topic of sustainable mobility, and for Metamorphosis we added another topic, the use of public space. So the goal is really to sensitize children to these 2 topics, and in Metamorphosis we did 4 project weeks in 3 different schools. The teachers could choose from many different modules, and I will present you 2, the neighborhood detectives and the transformation of a parking spot. So as for the neighborhood detectives, here the goal is to teach children what actually public space is, what it means, who does it belong to, and also to find out what children like or dislike about the public space in their in the school surroundings. So how did we do it? First, we looked at the map in the school room and talked about places they like and dislike. Then the kids went outside with a camera and looked for places, for top and flop places, as we call it, good and bad places. They took a picture of it, and then when back in class, they put up a presentation as you see it in the picture. They then had to develop ideas how to improve the bad places, how the city, the municipality could improve it. And then we discussed about these ideas in class. So the wishes of the children, they concern mostly mobility or traffic issues, like they wanted more space to bicycle or skate, or they were asking for longer green faces at traffic lights or more zebra crossings. Another topic was the nature greeneries, so they really like trees and flowers and want more of it. Another issue is playgrounds. They want to have interesting playgrounds for all different ages. And also they like places where they can play without supervision of parents. And what was interesting to see is that cleanliness is very important to them. So they're really bothered by trash on the streets or also graffitis. So that was a little bit unexpected to us that it is such a big topic. So then in Zurich, we had the chance that we could present these ideas to a member of the city council. That's a member of the executive, so it's really high level. And that was really a highlight for the kids. They felt taken seriously as they could present the ideas. And also, we think it was a great opportunity for the municipality, because children are hardly involved in urban development, and that was really a good chance to hear from them directly what they're bothered about and what they would like to see to change in the city. So in Zurich, we could actually implement several measures based on this neighborhood detective. We had a tunnel painting. We had a new encounter zone on the streets, and another square that will be upgraded based on these ideas of the kids. So what's important if you want to do a module like this? It's important that the administration is willing to listen to the ideas and to implement some of them if possible. Of course, you can also do this module if the administration is not very open, because it will still raise awareness of the kids about public space. But if possible, it's really it's a great opportunity to involve children in urban development, as I said before. So if you do, it's very important that kids understand that not all ideas will be possible to implement, and also that these processes take a lot of time. And what's also important is to have a good introductory lesson, because the concept of public space is hard to understand, especially for younger kids. So you need to explain very well what public space actually is. Now, as for the second module that I want to present, that's the transformation of a parking space. As you can see in the picture, the kids built a very nice bar made out of recycling material. They decorated it, they painted it, they designed flyers and posters to invite the parents and other school children. The idea of the bar was set beforehand by us, because we had to organize all the material before. But the children were free to decide on the motto and the design of the bar, so they could still decide on many things. And And with this bar, we then went outside on a Friday afternoon and we occupied an actual parking spot, which was quite impressive to the kids. And the parking spot was reserved beforehand by the city police, just to make sure that we're not sent away during the implementation. As I said before, parents were invited, as well as other school classes, to attend on the Friday afternoon, where the kids of the class hosted them and presented the results of the whole project week. So, in our opinion, it was really a successful module because it's, as I said, it's really impressive to actually occupy a real parking spot. The children also liked it a lot because they could work with their hands and learn new skills, something that they don't often do in regular school. And it definitely raised awareness about how much space cars take up when they're parked. And as we all know, a car is standing around most of the time, not being used. So they learned that this public space could be used in a much more attractive way, actually. So what's important if you do this kind of measure? It's very important to have motivated teacher and the school administration, because they decide on what material you can use. You need enough helping hands, so we had a professional carpenter helping us with the bar. And also, it's also helpful to have the support of the city administration. For example, they reserved the parking spot, as I said, but they also provided us with recycling material. We had a deal with the waste disposal department, who put these pallets aside for us and also let us choose from other material that otherwise would have been burnt. So in general, we really think that this project week is a very good measure to bring up this topic of sustainable mobility and use of public space. We had very good feedback from teachers, from the children, but also from parents, because it's also a break just from regular school. And it sticks in their heads because it's really hands-on and very impressive to see. So we would definitely recommend it to other cities to do something like that. And now I would like to show you a short video, but I just realized I forgot something. Just a moment. Okay, so let's try. Okay, so that was it. If you want to know more about this measure or what we did in Zurich in general, you can have a look on these websites. And now I'm open for questions, if you have any.
Thank you very much, Barbara. That was quite interesting, especially the syrup bar. I was very interested in this one. We actually have our first question from Amina, and I wanted to ask you, how long was the temporary parking space occupied? How did the parents respond to these interventions? Can you tell us something about these topics?
Yeah, we occupied the parking spot for an afternoon, for a Friday afternoon, for a couple of hours. That was also because we did it as part of the whole project week, so we had many other modules and didn't want to spend too much time on the occupation, but I think it was already enough just to have the demonstrative effect. And as for the questions regarding the reactions of parents, the ones that came by, they were all really positive about it. They liked what the children built. They were actually very impressed by the handicraft work also, and they could see why we did it. They were saying, yeah, we can see that for children these parked cars are an obstacle also, and so they were really positive about it.
Great, that's really interesting. Will you also continue this project in the next years, or are there any plans to occupy parking space as well in some different areas as well, Barbara?
Yeah, we would like to do it, but actually at the moment the city of Zurich is about to expand this program, so they want to include more of the climate topics as well. So just for this year there's a break, but from next year on I guess we will continue with this kind of project weeks.
Oh, great. Okay, cool, because Marina was also asking at least the same question as I did, and she was also interested in this factor if people begin to get used to this project, or in that parking spaces are occupied as a festivity in the neighborhood. So do you think that it's also just that you have to get used to something like that, that you change your habits and change how you see and use open space?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a question of getting used to a new thing. And there's as you probably all know, there's this parklet day always in September, and it hasn't been very big in Zurich, but this year there were a lot more events, parklets, than in the years before. So I think it's starting to take off in Zurich, and I'm sure that these kind of interventions, they help to promote it further.
Okay, great, cool. Are there any other questions? If not, I will continue with the next city, or you also have the opportunity to ask questions to Barbara afterwards as well. So hello again, and now I will continue with the third and last presentation from the city of Graz, and therefore I will ask Anna to present her presentation of Living Next, Reclaiming the Streets for Education and Movements. So Anna, is it possible to start your presentation now? Okay, great, perfect. So
hello everybody. Thank you, Elisabeth, for the introduction. I hope you hear me well. My name is Anna Resch. I'm working at the non-profit organization Landwirbel, and I'm in the project team of Metamorphosis in Graz. Together with the organization FGM, Forschungsgesellschaft Mobilität, we planned, helped to implement and evaluated the living labs in Graz in the last 2.5 years. And in the next minutes, I will try to give you an overview about what we did in detail. Okay. So what are living labs? Living labs are, as the name suggests, lively and living laboratory situations. They mainly take place in streets and on parking lots in front of schools and kindergartens, which are, for this case, closed for the motorized traffic. The movement and the teaching spaces of the facilities of the schools and kindergartens virtually reaches out in the public space. And what I think what's very nice is that the private and the public space therefore starts to blur. So what's happening during this living labs? In this laboratory situation, we test which activities can take place in the public space directly in front of these facilities. In the cities, there's often a lack of space in the schools and kindergartens for the children to move around and to play. So especially in this case, the living labs offer a very welcome extension of place in these facilities. For the usage, there are no limits. The created space can be used, for example, for breaks, for regular or topic-specific lessons, for movement classes, for sports activities, such as cycling or running trainings, or any similar activities which are possible. What is very important is that the living labs also have an educational aspect. In contrast to organized street festivals or school celebrations, where the street may also be closed for motorized traffic, the living labs aim to encourage teachers and students to deal in a playful way with the topic of the usage of public space as well as mobility. The living lab also offers a playful and creative material for teaching. Children can discuss about their own traffic behavior, for example, their own way to school, or how they use the public space to move and stay. Pupils also learn about active mobility, like walking and cycling in the cities, as well as possibilities for traffic calming in cities and their neighborhoods. Now about the living labs we implemented in Graz. In total, we had 4 streets in the district of Lent, which were involved. 5 schools and 1 kindergarten participated in these actions, and the duration of the street closures and the living labs was between 1 and 5 days. I think an important point is why the schools participated. Often it was, like I explained before, the lack of space in these facilities. But another important point was also their curiosity in mobility issues and reclaiming the public space, as well as it's also a welcome break from the everyday school life. And in general, the schools had a very great interest in participating in these living labs. To give you an impression about how it looks like, I will show you one video about the living labs we did. I'm not sure if it worked. Okay, so I tried to start again with the video. Hope it works now. Oh. Okay. So let's see. Maybe I just do it like this. Okay, I think now.
Schule ist es interessant, auch öffentlichen Raum nutzen zu können. Wir wollen auch damit der Nachbarschaft zeigen, dass wir da sind.
Und es ist ein ganz positives Bild auch für die Nachbarschaft, dass sie sehen, dass es ein geschlossener Raum ist, wo drinnen unterrichtet wird, sondern dass man auch wirklich...
I just interrupt you for a short second. Maybe Anna can check if the video is starting, but actually it's no problem. We also have those problems with technical stuff. So please, Anna, just take your time. And if maybe you have questions before or from already, please. You can also ask them in between. Oh, sorry. And
okay, so I could try with another player.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then I will stop. Yeah.
Okay. So.
Schule ist es interessant, auch öffentlichen Raum nutzen zu können. Wir wollen auch damit der Nachbarschaft zeigen, dass wir da sind.
Und es ist ein ganz positives Bild auch für die Nachbarschaft, dass sie sehen, dass die Schule nicht nur ein geschlossener Raum ist, wo drinnen unterrichtet wird, sondern dass man auch wirklich draußen Dinge erleben kann.
Ist da draußen, dieser Platz hat 16 Parkplätze, dem gegenüber steht sozusagen 500 Schülerinnen und Schüler. Und wenn man den sozusagen anders nutzen könnte, eben als Pausenhof, als Lernraum, als Lebensraum, dann kann man die Straße ganz anders erleben und geht damit ganz anders um, weil wer sagt, dass nur die Straße für Autos da ist.
Und es ist auf jeden Fall sehr motivierend für die Kinder und für uns wäre es sehr schön, wenn es regelmäßig möglich wäre, dass wir raus auf die Straße gehen können.
Mir gefällt es sehr, auf der Straße zu sein und ich hoffe, dass das öfter ist und man hat viel Spaß mit Freundinnen zu spielen.
Also fast jede Klasse hat was zu schreiben bekommen und dann durfte man den ganzen Tag halt spielen. Also es ist jetzt auch gar keine Gefahr, weil es ist da drüben und da abgesperrt.
Barrieren vor Schulen ist durchaus ein Thema. Also wir versuchen das jetzt im Rahmen der Mobilitätswoche mit Metamorphosis gemeinsam wieder durchzuführen.
Wir haben hier heute Metamorphosis gemacht und es hat allen Kindern, glaube ich, sehr gut gefallen.
Die Kinder haben sich so gefreut, dass sie endlich einmal eine Straße für sich hatten. Man sieht, sie ist belebt geworden und es war heute ein traumhafter Tag. Was soll man mehr sagen?
Okay, so that was the video we did. Okay. I'll go back in the presentation. In the next slides, I will just shortly describe how to implement this living labs. One important issue is, of course, are the legal issues and the permissions. Depending on the cities and location, the legal issues for the road closures must of course be clarified in advance. In Graz, it was a little bit different at each of the implemented schools. In advance, you have to apply for the place at the city administration. So in Graz, you have to do this from 2 to 6 weeks before the events. And it's often depending on the duration and the size of the event, what you have to deliver. We got some special conditions.
I wanted to interrupt you again quickly. Is it possible that you share the other screen again when you were now still looking at the YouTube link? Maybe. Yeah, that would be great. Perfect.
Okay. So now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so we got some special conditions to secure the road area. That was some scissor grids and some guards. We had some securities to stand there and take care that nothing happens. And of course, also before the event, you have to put some street signs that parking is not allowed in this area for the time of the event. Another important point is the equipment. Actually, you not really need something to do a living lab. So it's depending from zero equipment to whatever you want to do. You can take all the school facilities you already have in the school, like chair, tables, stuff like that. Or you can put some extra outdoor games or sport equipments for entertainment and what you need for the school lessons. We made very good experience just with street chalk and carpets to sit on for the kids. And the third big point is cooperations and contributors. What's very important is the communication with all different parties which take part in these living labs. Of course, directly with the school and kindergartens, with the children, teachers, and also the information for parents. We also tried to get local SMEs and the neighbors on board. We informed them, tried to involve them in the whole process. Then you can also involve some associations which are focused on kids. For example, some associations, they have special materials for outdoor games or any kind of these supports. And also sometimes the city administration has special equipment like a library bus or something like this. And it's also very important to keep a good communication with the city administration also to, if you plan to implement this living labs more often or try to implement it permanently. So what was the outcome of the living labs? More than 1,000 children and more than 80 teachers participated. New schools showed their interest in implementing the living labs, and the already participating schools, they want to continue with these implementations. In our evaluation, we found out that the mobility behavior of the children, parents, and teachers changed. Also, we asked the residents what they think about living labs and if they would like to have a permanent street closure or if they could think about it. And 75% of them said yes. 99.7% of the teachers, pupils, and parents, they were very satisfied and they like to have living labs again. And generally through newspaper articles, we generated general interest, and we started a public discussion about what's possible in public space and also what's possible in the streets before schools. So this was a very short overview about the living labs in Graz. If you need more information, write us an email. You can visit our homepage, and I'm very happy to answer questions. There are some. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much to you, Anna. That was quite interesting, and you also almost received 100% of very good feedback. That's really amazing. I have sent the link of the YouTube video to all participants in this video, and I hope you received it as well. If not, I think, Anna, you will have the link also at your homepage or where we can find this video. Maybe you can just tell us about it.
Yeah, you can. You find the YouTube link on the Metamorphosis homepage, and there are also, we have our own YouTube channel for this project, and there are many more interesting videos you can, where you can see what's possible in public space.
Okay, perfect. So please, to all of you who are listening, have you any questions to this project of the setting or the things? For example, I also already have a question from Michel Foulet, and he's asking, did street closure take place in rush hour before school start?
Yeah, it started in the morning when the kids arrived until the end of the day. So it was yeah, for the whole day.
Was it difficult or easy for you to start such an project, because it's streets, and it's always difficult in terms of traffic and city guidelines? What is your experience? Is it easy to handle something, or is it a lot of effort to set up the project?
I think, of course, in the beginning, when you start the first time, it's more effort, but we experienced that the more often you implement this kind of street closures and living labs, it gets easier and easier. In the first implementations, we had some complainings from the neighbors. Of course, it was a very new situation for them. But for the second implementation, we tried to inform them even better, give them the information in advance so that they can prepare for these days, that they know when they have to leave their parking spaces and when they can come back with their cars. And they started to get interested in this living lab, and I think in the last implementations we didn't have many problems with neighbors or anybody. And for the city administration, it was a good pilot to see what's possible. And for them, it was the most important that everything works without any problems. So yeah, and that was the case.
Okay, great. So it's always, if you get used to it, it's yeah, easy for everyone. That sounds really nice. Are there any other questions from other participants regarding this project in Graz? Or if not, I will continue or will ask you if, we received just right now another question from Maria. How many living labs have you implemented in total? Can you tell us about it, Anna?
Like we had this 4 streets, and the schools take part several times. So I think it was about a little bit more than 10 living labs in this 2.5 years.
Oh wow!
Some of the schools, they just took 1 day to test, and the next year more days. And at one school, we for 3 times we took the whole week off, and we had the living lab from Monday to Friday every day, from the morning to the afternoon. So it depended on the schools and what they want to do.
Okay, so Michel has already also has another question, and he's asking, could you consider permanent street closure at rush hours as well? Example for 1 hour or even more?
Yeah, I think it's depending also on the streets. So most of the streets, they are not like in, there are not so many cars. It's more about the parking spots. But I think, yeah, it will be for sure possible, but you have, it's all about the communication with the neighbors and yeah. But it's for sure possible.
Mm-hmm. So I will continue again, and I will ask you if you have any other things you want to share with Barbara, Anna, or Merle regarding the projects or the work in the cities they have done. Therefore, so please feel free to ask. Oh, I'm looking. Sorry, I have just also a short problem. Nope. So, hello again. So please feel free if there are any other questions. So you maybe have now the possibility to ask Barbara, Anna, and Merle those questions again, or if not, you also can text us via our email address for Metamorphosis. And thank you everyone, Barbara, Anna, and Merle, for your presentations and for the insight of those 3 really interesting projects. And I'm really looking forward for other cities or other similar projects which are happening in the future. And now, yeah, if there are no other questions, right now, are there any things, Barbara, Anna, or Merle, you want to share with us? You have now afterwards the choice, but now I just received the question from Michel. He's asking, was it for Project Zurich? If so, what was the name, short description of 2 other projects? So.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. No, it was we did 4 project weeks, but they were all similar, and so there's no 2 other projects that I could present. It was really just there were other modules, but I only presented these 2 that we did 4 times.
Okay, great. Okay. Are there any other questions so far? If not, I will. I will say thank you very much to all of you who are presenting and joining those insights of those projects. And yeah, I will hope you had an as interesting last hour as I had. And so if there are no comments anymore, I will finish this webinar now. And thank you all very much again. Okay. Okay, thank you. So have a good afternoon, and I'm happy to see one of you in the future to another webinar as well. Thank you and bye-bye.